Have you ever noticed how some hardwood floors tend to scratch and dent and wear faster than others? And you've wondered why? Let's find out today on Smith House. Howdy y'all, it's Stuart Smith. Today's video is brought to you by From the Forest. They are a manufacturer of engineered hardwood floors built right here in the US. They're manufactured up in Wisconsin. A really good floor, and they saw my video from a few years ago where I'm talking about engineered wood floors versus solid hardwood floors. If you haven't seen that video, go check it out. They saw that video and they said, hey, that's great. We would love to be able to educate the community on what makes really good hardwood floors versus some of the stuff that you might not want to be putting in your house. And I said, let me see your product. They sent me some product. I was really impressed by it. We're actually doing a project where I'm buying the floors and putting it in the project. That's how much I think of this floor. It's a very high quality floor, and I'm super thankful for them for being able to support this channel and help me educate you about the different things in building. So let's jump right into it. Have you ever seen those hardwood floors that just seem to scratch and dent super easily? I know I have, because I have put them in one of my own homes before, and I've actually got one of the samples from that project here. This is an engineered hardwood floor, and it is cheap. There's no two ways about it. It is a very cheap floor. We knew it was cheap going in. We bought it because it was cheap, and we saved a few bucks per square foot going to this versus doing something just a little bit higher up. But what we found is with pets especially, this would scratch and dent. Now, we knew from the get-go that this was going to be a cheap floor, and you'd have things like this crack here that's filled in with filler. There's a lot of discoloration on it. There's a lot of different striping across where they stack it. It's just a cheap floor. It looks cheap. We knew that it would look cheap, and we were okay with that. It's fine. But what we didn't think that we would see is as many scratches and dents as what we wound up on it. And here is the reason why. This is oak. This top veneer is oak, but it is super, super thin, like maybe 20 thousandths thick. If you looked at my last video where I'm talking about the thick veneers that really wear well and you can refinish, that's like this one here. This is a From the Forest product. This is their Woodland Treasures collection. You've got somewhere around 200 thousandths of wear on that. So not quite a quarter inch, maybe about 3/16 of a wear layer on top of this. So you are able to refinish this if you desire. Now, keep in mind that on this particular floor, it's got a lifetime residential warranty, so you probably aren't going to have to be refinishing it. It's got a 10-year commercial warranty on it. Some of the thinner stuff's got 5-year warranty. So even in commercial applications where every day you've got tons of people in and out, they'll warrant this for 5, 10 years. And that's incredible. And that has to do with this aluminum oxide coating on the top. So the aluminum oxide coating is a very common coating. I wasn't so much of a fan of it maybe 10 years ago. It seemed like most of the coatings that people were putting on just made it really shiny and plasticky. This one is much better. It's much more matte. It's very low sheen. It doesn't look like a plastic candy shell. It looks much better than the aluminum oxides of old. Used to, I'd always do like a site finished Bona floor finish, and I liked that. I still like that, but you're going to be refinishing that. If you do that on a oak floor, you get a really nice flat, smooth surface, but you're going to have to be refinishing it. If you're looking at any maintenance and you're not wanting to do any maintenance, then you're going to want to go with an aluminum oxide coating, and there are better and worse coatings. This one is a good coating, very high resistance to wear and abrasion. This floor here is thick enough that if I do any scratching on it, if I get the backside of a screwdriver and I do some scratching, you're not going to see any scratching on that, even with the screwdriver. Now, if I push in like I'm a dog's nail and I push in and I scratch, you'll start seeing some dents. Of course, this is a screwdriver and I'm really pushing down. But oak is very hard and it's going to resist that denting. The way that we measure hardness in wood floors is called the Janka hardness test. And we take a ball of 0.444 inches in diameter and we press it down until it's halfway submerged in the wood. And the more pounds of force that it takes to submerge that, the harder the wood is. So poplar is on the low end and it's about 500, and then ipe is on the high end, it's about 3,600. Oak is, white oak like this is about 1,350, red oak's about 1,250. So somewhere around that 1,300 pounds of force to get that steel marble to press halfway in. And that's why when I scratch this with the screwdriver, I can get it to dent because I'm putting probably 25, 30 pounds of force and I'm multiplying it through just this tiny little area here. So we're seeing thousands of pounds of force here at the end, and I'm getting these really little indentations, but you can't really see it at all because I'm not scratching the surface. The aluminum oxide is keeping me from scratching it, but I'm denting it. So this is a really good high performance floor that will even withstand some heavy, your toddler playing with a screwdriver type thing. But here's where it gets interesting, and this is what I learned putting this floor in. So this is, again, this is oak, but it's just incredibly thin. We're like maybe 20 thousandths worth of a top veneer on the top, which is really thin. Nothing necessarily wrong with that. It definitely makes the floor cheaper, but what it does is now this oak is so thin, it's not able to act like oak. It is not able to withstand the force of the screwdriver because it's so thin. All of those forces transfer straight through the oak into the substrate. And in this case, this is a poplar plywood substrate. So that's very, very soft. Remember I said that's about 500 on the Janka hardness scale. So if I take my screwdriver here and I scratch it, you just probably can't see it there, but it's a much deeper scratch. Even though the top of this is oak, the substrate behind it is what's taking all of that force because it's so thin. The oak's, it's basically painted on there. The oak can't withstand anything, transfers it all to the poplar underneath. So what would a better solution be? Well, this is from the Force solution, which I do like. This is an HDF core. This is a high density fiber. This is the same super thin veneer. Now this floor is going to cost more than this floor. So you're definitely paying a little bit more, but it's much cheaper than the thicker version of this. This is like maybe $5.99 a square foot versus $8.99 a square foot. So you're about 2/3 of the cost. It's still really high quality wood. You're not going to have all of the cracking and the splitting and the knots. You're at a select and better grade of wood here versus just a character grade of wood. So that drives the cost up. But also the manufacturing of this and the coating of this is higher quality. And then this HDF board gives us one more advantage, and it's a crucial advantage. Again, this oak, there's nothing magical about oak when you slice it into 25 thousandths thick. I don't care how good the oak is at 25 thou thick, it's not going to be able to resist any denting at all. But this HDF is about 1,700 on the Janka hardness scale versus poplar, which is 500. So you're over 3 times more resistant to denting on the HDF than you are on the poplar. The HDF is also a more dense product than the oak. Remember I said oak was about 1,350 and this is 1,700. So this floor will perform slightly better than even a solid oak floor when it comes to denting. So if I try to dent this here, you can't see it. You can't see what I see and feel. So I came up with a very I was about to say non-scientific. It's a little scientific. I mean, we got scales and we got calipers. I mean, this is sort of sciencey. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to be making a Janka hardness test. I've got a BB. All right, I stole this from the Red Ryder out of my son's closet. So I got a BB and I've got a scale. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to put 100 pounds of force downwards on the BB into the wood, and then we're going to measure the indentation. So it's not exactly a Janka hardness test, but it's sort of a quasi-Janka hardness test. Instead of pushing it halfway through and seeing what the pounds are, I'm just pushing it to a set number of pounds, and then we'll see how big that indentation is. Like I said, it's a janky Janka hardness test, but I think it's going to show better than just me saying, oh, look at that. It's going to show how these floors actually respond. Grab my calibrated pressure test here, and let's start with oak. Let's start with this thick oak. All right, so this is from the forest. This is Woodland Treasures Acadia white oak, and it's about 200 thou thick here on this top layer. And I'm going to put it on the scale, and then I'm going to grab the BB. I'll put it there. Now I'm going to apply 100 pounds of downward force as read out by the scale. 30, 39, 40, 49, 50, 59, 66, 70, 76, 84, 86, 91, 94, 97, 100. All right, that was 100. All right, now let's do this. This is, again, from the forest, and it's got the HDF core. Putting it down, putting it here, and we are reapplying. That was 100. Now let's use the super cheap floor as our worst case scenario, or maybe not great scenario. All right, one more time. This is bad floor loading up. It's 100. All right, for the solid oak Woodland Treasures, 100 pounds on a BB, we have a diameter of right at 150 thousandths diameter. When we go to the HDF core, I can already tell that it's smaller, slightly smaller, but again, this is, we're using a BB here that gets pretty, the diameter changes fast, and then it's going to slow way down. It's not the greatest test, but you get the point. We're down at 135. So we go from 150 on the oak to 135. So you see that the HDF is actually resisting that denting more, even though the oak is getting thinner. The HDF below it, that is so much more dense, is resisting that denting. And then finally, on our last one, at 100 pounds of force on a BB, we are at 175 on this. And I could actually tell when I was loading it up, you could hear it start to crack. The other one's dented, but I didn't hear any fibers being torn like I did on this. And that's just that oak giving away as the poplar fells underneath it. So if I was putting these in a project, I would expect that even though these two floors have similar thicknesses of veneer on them, this floor is going to perform so much better than this floor here. Not to mention the fact that a higher quality floor is going to be more consistent in color, more uniform with less knots, less cracks that are filled in. It's just going to be a better looking floor, which at the end of the day is what is going to make a higher quality floor. When we talk about quality, often people think about wear and tear. Well, if it doesn't look good at the beginning, it's not going to be a permanent solution. People are going to be pulling it out long before it wears out just because they don't like the way it looks. So when you spend a little bit more money on a floor like this, not only do you get the higher wear characteristics of a high quality aluminum oxide and a very hard and durable HDF substrate, but you also have a more consistent floor that looks good from the beginning, versus if you go really cheap like I have before with this floor, it just looks really ununiform, and we're going to probably pull it out of that house sooner than it's just wore out, because it just looks a little bit cheap. And when we have people coming in and are looking at the project, the floors don't look super high end. So if you're going to be trying to save some money, there's definitely ways that you can and should save money. Do you need to be spending top dollar on the thick veneer and you're going to be able to refinish it? Well, you nor I will be around long enough to have to refinish this. So I don't know the refinishing should be top of concern. If you like the way it looks and you want to have that thick veneer on it, which I personally do, and in my projects now, I'm putting this thicker veneer, I think that's great. But if you're looking at saving some money, there's definitely ways that you can get a high quality floor with a very long service life without breaking the bank, and at the same time avoiding the things that will make it just not hold up and have pet scratches and toddler scratches and all that other stuff going through the oak straight into the poplar. Thanks so much for watching. I hope this helped. If you're still watching, comment below about your favorite types of wood floor. Comment below about any nightmare stories that you've had. The reason I have the screwdriver here is we one time put a solid walnut floor in our personal house, and our 3-year-old got a hold of a screwdriver and wanted to help daddy on the house and just dented the brand new floor like crazy right by the front door. And we left it because what are you going to do? Tell me about your horror stories below. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, put them down there. Go follow us over at social media. Go check out fromtheforest.com. It's direct to consumer, so that's sort of cool. If you're a handy DIYer, very good solution. They also have deals for professionals to be able to get a little bit of a price break there. So go check out From the Forest, and we'll see you next time on Smith House.